welcome back to Mancinima. We are just going to go in there to see the movie The Flash. If you can go through the old routine for me, please. If you could please like this video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Let's go and see this movie, and I'll give you my review when I come out. Already, it's a bit noisy in here. Just getting ready to see the film. Got the Batman t-shirt because I haven't got my Flash one. I'll see you in a bit. I'll try to give you a brief synopsis about the Flash. Basically, he's going about his life at the beginning. Barry Allen, that is, played by Ezra Miller, and he's trying to juggle his day job as a police. I think he's kind of a science officer or something, but he's trying to do that, and he also has to get caught up in superhero heroics. Of course, he's getting called upon by Alfred and some of the other people like Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. So obviously he's got this juggling of life going on, and it's during one of these moments that he finds that he can actually go back in time. He manages to stretch time and go back in time a little bit, and it's during this moment that when he discovers that he can go back in time, he thinks about his parents, thinks about what happened to them, the fact that his father has been arrested for the murder of his mother, a crime he didn't commit, and also the fact that his mother obviously was murdered. We don't find out in the course of this film who murdered his mother. That's kept secret, in case I guess they wanted to do any sequels. But yeah, so he sets out on this path, and we have a bit of a spoiler, but Ben Affleck's Batman warns him not to go back in time because you don't know what damage he could do. And he thinks about it and figures, well, look, you know, I won't have any interactions, but what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll change just one thing, one little item. And if I change that one little item, it won't have any effect and everything will be okay. I've had no interactions with people, so it shouldn't be a problem. However, obviously it goes back in time. It does create a problem. It creates an alternate universe where there's another one of him, there's another Barry. And obviously all of the superheroes that he once knew, Superman, Aquaman and all that kind of business, in this new timeline, they don't exist because he created a world without metas. So he has to go back and try to fix this. And that is basically the premise of this movie, The Flash. It's, you know, if you've seen the TV series The Flash, starring Grant Gustin, it's very similar to that. It's the Flashpoint story. I don't know what year that Flashpoint story came out, but yeah, if you know the Flashpoint story, that's basically it. Okay, I'm going to give you my views when we get home, but for the moment, it's a long walk. And finally, we are back in the room. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get here. This is a day later, unfortunately. This is a day after I saw The Flash in the cinema. It was a long walk back from the cinema. By the time I got back, I was a little bit dishevelled, so apologies about that. So let's have a talk about the film then. The movie opens with a fantastic opening sequence. You've got Barry, who needs his breakfast before he goes off to do his work as a forensic scientist, and he's trying to get that breakfast done when he suddenly gets a call from Alfred, Bruce Wayne's butler, that he has to go off and help in an emergency that Batman has been involved with, which is a basically I think it's something like a bombing or something like that that's blown up part of a hospital. So Barry has to go and deal with the hospital while Batman chases down the villains. And that is that opening sequence. It's a fantastic opening sequence. It really draws you into the movie with such speed, if you like, and you really begin to enjoy it. There's a good moment where there's part of a building that collapses and Barry slows time down and he has to catch things out of the air, and you see everything in slow motion and how he manages to do that, how he manages to resolve that. So that is a really good, really fun sequence. It really draws you into the movie in such a great way. Batman, also Ben Affleck's Batman, it's no spoiler because he's in the trailer. Ben Affleck's Batman is the best that I've ever seen a Batman on screen in this moment. The action sequence is fantastic, and you feel like he's a real threat to these villains. You know, he's a real badass in this film. He's really going after these guys, chasing them down on his Batpod bike. And yeah, the entire sequence is fantastically done, cutting between Barry saving the people at the hospital and then cutting back to Ben Affleck's Batman. And it ends with a sequence on the bridge. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a lovely little cameo in there that you've got to look out for. You can't really miss it. But there's a cameo in there which is fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. It was a nice touch. So yeah, the movie really opens up, first of all, and draws you in. Fantastic action sequence. You're drawn into the characters. You get to see Barry and his struggle in life in that, you know, he's basically having to get from here to here and split his life between being this police forensic scientist and also being the Flash. From here on out, it takes a little bit of a turn when Barry finds that he can go forward in time. He's gone really fast running, and he finds that he breaks through time and manages to get back to a moment earlier in the hospital, or around that sequence where he can see that he's stepped back in time a little bit. And he's thinking about this, and he's thinking, well, what if I can go further back in time and save my parents? Because obviously his dad is accused of the murder of his mother, and obviously his mother's dead. So he's got to go. He feels like he's got to go back to that sequence. But Bruce Wayne warns him that if you do that, you're going to do the butterfly effect kind of thing, and you're going to upset the balance of the universe, and things could go terribly, terribly wrong. So he thinks, well, what if I don't interact with anybody, but I do something else? And that's when the story kind of picks up its pace a little bit. It is a little bit ploddy, I will say. It is a little bit ploddy between the moments of that first opening sequence and until we get to the moment where, and again, it's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, when we get to meet Michael Keaton's Batman. Not going to tell you how that comes about. But yeah, up until that moment, everything's just putting things in place. If you know, it's nicely done. It's not boring by any stretch of the imagination. But you just feel like you know there's action sequences to come, and you want to get there. So yeah, there's that to think about. What can I say from here on? So from that moment on, we know that we go forward in time, and you've seen it again in the trailer that Barry meets a younger version of himself. He finds that he's gone back in time, but not to the time that he wanted to. He's actually 10 years earlier. So he gets to hang out with his mother and his father before the incident happens, and of course there's a younger version of Barry himself. The way it's done is really well done. I mean, the fact you wouldn't think that there was one person playing two different characters. It actually looks like there's two people on the screen at one stage. So that was very, very well done. I was very impressed with that. Some of these times that they use one actor to do different characters, it doesn't quite work. But in this one it works really, really well. So I was very, very impressed with that. So yes, so we meet up and Barry meets the younger version of himself, and the younger version of himself is he's a bit of a child basically. You know, he's into doing silly things, he's a bit of a slop, he's a bit of a goofball, and I think this encourages the Barry that we know, our Barry if you like, to mature a lot throughout the course of the story, which I thought was a nice touch, because he himself starts off a little bit sloppy, a little bit goofy, the way that he talks to Alfred, the way he talks to Batman. And of course, meeting his younger self, he realises that he was, like I say, a bit of a goofball, and he matures, the older Barry matures throughout the course of the film, and I thought it was a nice touch, it was a nice through thread to follow. Ben Affleck, like I say, Ben Affleck's Batman was the best that I've ever seen a Batman on screen in this film. Michael Keaton's Batman, again, it's the best that I've ever seen Michael Keaton's Batman on screen. I've never been a Michael Keaton Batman fan. Never really liked the fact that in the original Tim Burton movies he was, yeah, again, too goofy as Bruce Wayne and didn't seem to know what he was doing. Yet as Batman he was like very focused, and that balance never sat well with me. I always preferred Christian Bale's Batman, when you knew that he was playing a playboy and Batman was his real persona. So I actually preferred the Christopher Nolan version of Batman. But you know, Michael Keaton's good in this film, he plays his part. There's a lot of people worried that the fact that Michael Keaton is in this film, that it will become like a third Michael Keaton Batman movie. That's not the case. This is very much the Flash's movie. This is about the Flash, about the Flash's story, about the Flash's life. So yes, Michael Keaton, enjoyable in the film. He plays a great Batman in this film. Best that I've ever seen him on the screen, to be honest with you. But he is not the focus of this film, so there's nothing to worry about there. The special effects sequences are fantastic. I love the way that the Flash's speed force works. What I didn't like so much is the fact that when he does the travel through time sequence, he enters what looks like a gladiatorial arena with a zoetrope effect around the outside. So there's, if you imagine, there's like strips of film, and then another strip of film, then another strip of film, and it's kind of going back in time. And as he moves through it, all these things move around in 3D, and that didn't really sit very well with me. I thought there was a better way of doing that. It's also very dark in that arena, apart from these little strips that are going around. So yeah, every time they went into that arena bit, I didn't really like it, and I'd rather they just kind of got on with the story. Towards the end of the film, there's a little bit where they're going backwards and forwards in time, and that got a little bit messy in my opinion. I just didn't like that arena kind of sequence. I'd just rather they found a better way of doing this backwards and forwards in time. I think movies like Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise did it a lot better with the time travel. But that's to be said, it's a very, very fun movie. It's great to watch. It's visually spectacular. You know, every single person in the film is fantastic. Really like Sasha Calle. I think Sasha Calle, don't know how it's pronounced, as Supergirl. I thought she was fantastic. A bit of a revelation, really. because I didn't know her as an actress and I didn't know how she was going to play the character, but she's actually really, really good in this film. And I don't know whether they were supposed to have Superman in this film and decided to go with Supergirl. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, but yeah, the fact they went with her, she was fantastic. So she was really good. Like we've spoken about the others, we've spoken about Michael Keaton, spoken about Ben Affleck, Ezra Miller. For all the troubles that Ezra Miller's had in his life in recent months, he's a fantastic Flash. He's a really good character, he's a really good persona in this movie, and I hope somehow there's some way to do a sequel to this movie. I don't know if there will be, because James Gunn is breaking up the DCEU now and doing his own thing, so I don't know that we'll get to see another Flash. But yeah, let's hope so. The other thing I will say is a lot of people are saying that this is the end of Zack Snyder's DCEU, but I believe there's still one more movie to come, because we haven't had the second Aquaman movie yet, so I think that is still to come. Yeah, so what would I say about this movie? I would say definitely go and see it at the cinema. It is a good fun ride. There's a few ploddy moments, which is a shame for a movie that's called The Flash. You wish it would move at a better pace all the way through, but there's moments where they have to break down the character, have to let you know what his dilemma is, so that does kind of slow the pace a little bit. Then once again, once he meets up with the younger version of himself and meets up with Michael Keaton, the film picks up. I will say that at the other end of the film, I felt it was a little bit heavy, so it's kind of starts off great, a little bit of a lull in the middle, and then you get to the other end when everything seems to be shoved together. There's a lot going on. It probably could have been spread out a little bit better, evened out a little bit better, but you know, it is what it is. There is one very end credit sequence on this film, so stay for that one. And like I say, it comes right after the very end credits. But yes, I enjoyed The Flash immensely. I thought it was a great film. It's one of the better DC films in recent years. I wouldn't say it's one of the best DC movies ever. I still prefer Superman the movie and the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. I still prefer those. But yes, it's a very good film. It's well worth seeing at the cinema. So there you go. That's my cinema recommendation. I would give it probably a 7.5 or an 8 again out of 10. I would say that again, because we're dealing with multiverses, this one isn't as neat as Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home laid out its track, very neatly done, and it just seemed a lot neater and a lot tidier, whereas The Flash is a little bit chaotic towards the end. I just felt that maybe they could have tightened up a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. Definitely worth seeing at the cinema. Like I say, probably about 7.5 or 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of The Flash, so I hope you enjoy it. Come and have a chat with me down in the comments, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you thought about Michael Keaton's return as Batman after all this time. All that's left for me to say is let's go through the usual routine. You know, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Oh yeah, there's one person that comes along and constantly gives it the thumbs down in all the videos, so I'd just like to say to that person, that's the way you want to be looking for the thumb, like that, okay? But you know, if you want to do that on this video, knock yourself out. That way up. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that would be great. If you want to, you know, if you're new to the channel, that is. If you've already subscribed, don't bother subscribing because you've already done it. But if you are new to the channel, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a subscribe because you've got loads of other videos on here, and I'm doing more videos all the time, so you'll get to know what's coming out. Also, hit the notification bell. That'll tell you when I've done a new video. And come and have a chat with me down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about The Flash once you've seen it. Let me know what movies you're looking forward to. If there's any movies you'd like me to review in retrospect, maybe you'd like me to go back in time and look at one of the older movies, maybe a movie that you've seen that you don't think I've seen, and maybe I can go and review it and give you my opinion. Happy to do that, just let me know. But in the meantime, I'm beginning to get too hot now, a little bit too sweaty. It's another hot sunny day, so please go and enjoy the sunshine, but if you're not enjoying the sunshine, be in the cinema and go and watch a film. So until next time, I'll see you then.